Alright, so we're going to talk about how to make the equation of a line. Then we'll also talk about how to graph the lines. So we need two things to be able to make basically any equation of any line. We need the point-slope form. So this is the point-slope form. And to use it, we need a point, something like x1 and y1. It usually looks more like this, 2, 3. And we need our formula. And we also need a slope, sorry. And we need our slope. So something like 1/2. So if we have a point and a slope, we can plug into this point-slope form. Now the point-slope form is basically if you took your slope equation here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you multiply both sides by x minus x, what happens here is you basically end up getting your point-slope form. Kind of rearranged a little backwards from what you're used to, but it is still the same thing. Alright, so if we have the point-slope form, and we have a point and a slope, all we gotta do is plug in. So we're gonna plug in wherever we see y1, our slope, and our x1, we're gonna plug in our information. Alright, so the equation is y minus y1, which remember this is always alphabetical order, x and then y. So 3 equals our slope, which we said was 1/2, parentheses x, leave the x and the y that I didn't put arrows on alone, minus the x1, which is 2. Now this is actually the equation of a line in point-slope form. This is technically the equation of a line, but we usually want to put them in y equals mx plus b, the slope-intercept form, because that's the way we usually have our equations. So from here, all we gotta do is solve for y. So we distribute the half in, and we get y minus 3 equals 1/2 times x is just a half x, and a half of 2 is 1. The last thing we gotta do is move the 3 over to the other side, so plus 3, plus 3. So y equals 1/2 x plus 2. And we have put our equation in y equals mx plus b, or this is called the point slope. No, sorry, not point slope. Slope intercept. Slope intercept form. And the reason for it is this is our slope, and this is our y-intercept. Now, if we wanted to graph this line, we have two options. If it's already in y equals mx plus b, I could graph from there. Always do your b first. So we would go up 2. And then we use our slope. And slope is always rise over run. So it would go up 1 over 2. Then we could do the same thing again. Go up 1 over 2 from that new point. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. So on and so forth. If I want to go in the other direction, when we go up 1 over 2, I would go down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Ooh, this one only went over 1. Got to make sure that you are going over actually 2. So down 1 over 2. If you miss one, you'll end up basically with like a kink in the graph. It won't look quite right. But once you have all the points, you connect them with a line and try to hit them. That wasn't so bad. And we've got it. Now, if you wanted to graph right off the bat, this was overkill. If the question asks you to graph with this information here, we plot our point right 2, up 3, right there. Let's do this in a different color. So I plot my point, right 2, up 3, and then I use my slope, up 1 over 2. Oh, look at that, same line, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. So if you want to write the equation, but if you want to graph, you generally don't have to write the equation to be able to graph, but both of these graphs have to match. All right, let's try another one. So let's say we've got the point -3, -7, and we've got the slope of slope equals, not slope of. Let's go with 2. Let's say 2. All right, so we are going to plug into our point-slope form, where we see y1, x1, and m. So it's y minus a -7, so minus a negative, equals our slope, which is 2, parentheses, x minus x1, which is negative 3. All right, minus and negative. Two negatives make it positive. Two negatives make it positive. So be careful about the signs. And we get y plus 7. We distribute our 2 equals 2 times x is 2x plus 2 times 3 is 6. And we want to get in that whole y equals mx plus b form. So we subtract 7 over, and y equals 2x minus 1. That's my equation in slope-intercept form. Again, both of these lines are the equations of lines. One is in point-slope form, and the other one is in slope-intercept form. So if someone asks you for the equation in point-slope form, you do this and you stop. If you want to know y equals mx plus b or slope-intercept, we do this. All right, let's go ahead and go over graphing this again. Always y-intercept first. So down 1, and then we use our slope. Now, slope of 2, if you need to use it as rise over run, put it over 1. So 2 divided by 1 is 2, so it goes up 2 over 1. Rises 2, runs 1. Rises 2, runs 1. If I want to go in the other direction, it goes down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1. And we've got the equation of the line. Ooh, try to actually hit all the points. That was not the greatest. But you get the idea. Now, again, if it was graphing, start with this information first anyway. Negative 3, negative 7. Left 3, down 7, and lo and behold, we've got that same point. And then the slope is 2, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So if the question only asks you to graph, use this information. Don't go through all of this work, even though it still will work. All right, let's see what else we can do. What if I gave you the information 3, 5, negative 2, 4. All right, so I've got 2 points, but I've got no slope. To use the point-slope form, you need a point and you need a slope. Well, we have 2 points and no slope. So what we do is we find our slope using our slope formula. Now, always remember that the y's are on top, the x's are on the bottom. And these go in alphabetical order, x, y, x, y. So we're going to subtract the 2 y's, subtract the 2 x's, and we'll have our slope. So it's y2, second one, minus the first one. And it really doesn't matter which one's first and which one's second, as long as if you take the right one minus the left one, when you go for the x's, you go right one minus the left one as well. So most people are going to do a right minus left, so let's do that. Our slope is y2, 4, minus y1, 5, over x2, negative 2, minus x1, which is 3. So from here, all we got to do is simplify. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. 2 negatives make a positive. All right, so we have a slope of 1/5. Now we need a point and a slope. We have a slope. We got 2 points. We seem to have too much information here. So the key is we just pick one of them. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Either one will work. So what I would suggest is if one looks nicer than the other, you pick that one. These both look about the same type of numbers. There's no decimals, nothing crazy, nothing like 37. So I'm going to go with the first one, which means I'm just going to cross out the second one. I don't even want to look at it anymore. So once we've decided on our point and our slope, we're ready to go. So we do y minus y1, 5 equals our slope, 1 over 5, x minus x1, which is 3. All right. So we still have to distribute this fraction in here. So we got y minus 5 equals 1/5 of x is 1/5 of x. And 1/5 times 3, we put this over 1, and then when you multiply fractions, you just multiply across. Minus 3, 5 times 1 is 5. All right, so from here, last step would be to add the 5 over, which is probably the hardest step of the whole problem. So we get y equals 1/5 x, and then we got to take negative 3/5 plus 5. So if I was to do this by hand, I would put the 5 over 1, and then we would have to come to a common denominator. You feel free to use your calculator, -3/5 plus 5, and then you have to hit math fraction. But by hand, I need a common denominator, so I need to make the 1 become a 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. So this ends up being -3/5 plus 5 times 5 is 25/5. And you get 25/5 minus 3/5 is 22/5. Now this one's hard to graph in this form. To tell you the truth though, if I was going to graph it, I would go right 3, up 5, and I would go left 2, up 4. I got these 2 points, I connect the dots. If you're given an equation to start with and you want to graph it, you use that equation. But if you're given information and the goal is to graph it, don't write the equation and then graph it. Just graph it from the information you're given.